you ever wondered why VTubers are mostly streamers, even though their name, VTubers, mainly comes from virtual YouTubers? Why are they all streaming? That is a question I kind of came to pose one day because, I technically am also a VTuber that does streams and started out doing streams. And honestly, I didn't really stop to think about like why. Why don't I just make normal YouTube content? Why do I just do streams? And I kind of did a little bit of research and some thinking. They came up with mainly three big reasons on why this is the case. Number one, content creation is a very individual thing. Now, this might not have anything to do with VTubers, but I think it does, because nowadays we have a lot of corporate VTubers who are kind of dominating the scene, like Hololive, Niji Sanji, V Shoujo. Those guys became really popular. I mean, also Phase Connect. Well, I don't know if that's necessarily part of that kind of umbrella, but a lot of really popular VTubers are kind of from the corporate world, and the corporate world doesn't really support individual creation that much. I mean, it's obvious. You're part of a corporation and you're kind of under their control. If you're gonna make videos on your own will, on your own topics about yourself, or like vlogs, they can't really do much to kind of support you other than, having an editor or sponsoring for like your equipment, like merchandise. But like honestly, can you just like do that all yourself? Because most YouTubers kind of do that, right? So that's kind of what I thought about how most VTubers kind of just do streaming. Another really interesting point I would think about is streaming is really easy, and I think this is a really big reason. For me, I definitely am guilty of falling into this kind of excuse. I mean, not excuse, but it's kind of like I'm too lazy to make content, so I'm just gonna stream and then just like let everything happen, because I don't feel like organizing a video or like planning out a script, or making structured content. Not just, okay, I'm gonna stream one day and play this random game and it's gonna be fun. I mean, that's totally fine. I have nothing against that. I mean, of course, because I do it. I have been doing it for a while, and yeah, it's kind of just, it just opens the opportunity to a lot of people who might be fans and want to also kind of be a quote unquote content creator, but they don't really know how to, so they just go with like the simplest way, which is streaming. And honestly, streaming isn't, like, if you come to think of it, streaming isn't that simple. I mean, unless you're like having a really bare bones streams and you don't really think about what you're doing. Most people, when they're doing streamings, they kind of, or at least most people who put effort or care into their content creation, kind of plan out what they're about to do on stream, or they have these kind of schedules on weeks where they're gonna play these games on certain days. Like Monday, I'm gonna play League of Legends, and like Friday, we're gonna do like just chatting or karaoke or something like that. So in a sense, streaming isn't like a super easy thing to do. At least if you want to do it well and attract like an audience, you kind of have to think about it more than just kind of streaming. The last one, and I think this one's a pretty interesting one, it's that people like having an intimate relationship, or this kind of like immersion. It's kind of become popular for people who aren't VTubers to feel involved, like in the lore, and like kind of know everything. Like if you know Vettel in Neuro-sama, if you're a member of that community and you know like the lore and like the family content, like Evo and Neuro and like Annie and then everyone else, and like what everyone did with each of the kids, and how Vettel is like codeless, codefish, they kind of have this kind of personal connection where like the viewers kind of know who the VTubers are as a person and kind of create their own dynamics and like relationships. And I think that's a lot easier to do if you're streaming versus content creation, because when you're making content creation, it's you're not gonna have a lot of people. It's not easy to kind of get people to do content creation with you, mainly because you kind of have to take some time to reach out, ask for collabs, and people aren't always available. And also a lot of people don't do content creation and they don't want to do that, and that becomes hard to kind of create this kind of lore or community sense with a lot of dynamics with a lot of people, because you're just kind of your own creator and you're just doing your own thing, and like your fan base kind of goes after who you are, not necessarily the bubble or social sphere that you're in. Yeah, I think streamers have it a lot easier in this sense, because they can pretty much invite a lot of people, like, because they kind of have a lot of free time. I mean, of course they do. I have a lot of free time to go streaming, and might as well do collabs and build personal connections that other people would like to see. And if they really like the dynamics of your two personalities of you, they kind of be able to piece things together and kind of make a kind of story or like wiki. Like for example, in Hololive you have a lot of pairings like Okakuro or Pekomari. Yeah, a lot of those are becoming very popular, and because they were streaming, because they didn't really make content. I mean, structured YouTube content. Most of Hololive kind of just streams and collabs, and they just kind of build that sort of connections with each other through that. And yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how this kind of definition of the word VTubing has kind of evolved, because it used to kind of mainly be in like the old days. We have the Kizuna Eye and like the really OGs that would just make skits, or they would just play games like playthroughs like a normal content creator. And then over time it kind of just shifted to this kind of streaming culture where like if you don't stream, you're not a quote unquote real VTuber, which is I think that's pretty ironic, honestly. But yeah, I think if any of you have interesting take regarding this kind of shift, that would be nice to know, so you can leave a comment if you would like. And I think for me, what I want to get at in this video is that if you're going to be a content creator, whether it's streaming or YouTube videos, you should kind of consider the other perspective, because you might really like making YouTube videos. You might really like doing live content. I know I like doing live content, and I'm kind of trying this out because I never really made structured kind of YouTube content. But I think if you really want to get the whole experience and kind of understand how a lot of people in different kind of creating styles, I think it's very worth it to check out a lot of content creation styles. Anywho, that's pretty much for this video. I'm planning to make some more. I want to focus on kind of learning how to make YouTube content, because I have done editing. I have uploaded YouTube videos a lot in VODs and sort of interact with community, but I've never really done a personal kind of individual content creation. So that's what I'm kind of going after. And if you would like, I would appreciate it if you would support me by whatever means: viewing, subscribing, liking. Yeah, I mean, I don't have, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.